Hi AK, how you doing?
How's it going, Sebastian?
Very good, thank you. Thank you very much for taking time during your tour, European tour here, sitting down with us and talking about Flotsam and Jetsam.
Yeah.
So, Flotsam and Jetsam, legendary metal band, been around for, I would say, 30 years, pretty much, like around.
Yeah, first album was 1985.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the band since 1982.
Okay, so more than 30 years.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I saw an interview with you from Bloodstock Festival last year where you said that the business has been more fun now than it ever has been. So after 30 years that a musician can say that in the metal industry when the music business seems different, let's say. Is that still true 1 year later?
It is still true. Not only is the business itself different than it was back then, but my view on the business is completely different. Back then I was worried about where's the next drink coming from, when's the next drug coming from, when's the next woman coming from. That was my main concern back then. Now it actually switched to the business end of things. My direction was towards the business end of things, and now it's switched again. My main concern is songwriting and pouring my heart out into the music we're making.
Yeah. And you've released 11 albums over the years, plus some EPs, plus some live albums and so on.
Right.
Also, we have to say, in the 90s, grunge came, pushed metal aside, but the band stayed. And sometimes you went a little away, but you came back as a band. How did you manage to stay true to one band for more than 30 years and also overcome difficult times?
The weird thing about Flotsam for me is that without my voice, there is no Flotsam. They tried to bring somebody else in for a while, and that didn't work out. It just wasn't Flotsam anymore. So for me, no matter what the rest of the band lineup is, no matter who's writing songs or who's recording them, or regardless of what's going on, I'm always Flotsam, and Flotsam is me. And that has kept me going the whole time. The thought that there is no Flotsam if I stop doing this, that keeps me going year after year.
Nice. Your most recent release, No Place for Disgrace, is actually an album which came out 1988, if I'm correct?
Yes.
And you re-recorded it and released it last year. And I read that there was a huge demand. You remixed and reissued Doomsday for the Deceiver,
yes,
your debut album in 2006, and then there was huge demand for No Place for Disgrace. Maybe can you elaborate on that? How did it happen that you re-recorded everything, and why did it take so long?
When we remixed Doomsday, it was a kind of an easy decision. We had the masters, and we have the new technology to make things sound better. We have some earlier recordings from before Doomsday that we wanted to put on there. A couple video things, just make it a little more fun, make it a bigger package, and re-release it. When it came time for people asking, do the same thing with No Place. So we tried to get a hold of the record company, which was Elektra at the time, and we said, how do we get a hold of the masters for this? And they said, Flotsam who?
Seriously?
So yeah.
Okay.
It had been so many years since we were on that label for that one record that nobody still works there that was there when we were, on the label. And they hadn't re-released it for so long. No one had any clue, Masters, what's that? They didn't know.
Because they were on tape back then, of course.
Yeah.
Right?
So nobody knew, where to get a hold of it, who to talk to, who owned it, nothing. So we talked to our lawyer, and he said, best thing you can do is re-record the whole thing. So we said, okay, that sounds like fun, you know?
Exactly.
So we went in the studio and re-recorded the whole thing. We tried to keep it as true to the original as we could, and with just better production, you know? And I think it turned out pretty good.
No, interesting. For maybe our viewers who don't know much about the music business, the masters back then, why were they not in your possession?
Well, that's kind of a weird question. Normally when you sign with a record label, they own everything. They own the masters, they own the rights, they own the songs, you know, and you just get a small percentage of that. So at that time, that's the way record contracts were. And they took the masters and they store them in their little Electra vault somewhere. And over the years, nobody knows, you know.
Yeah,
And
sure.
there's so many bands on Electra since then, you know. Metallica, Motley Crue, you know, you name it, Dokken, they were all on Electra at the time. So we kind of got lost in the shuffle there.
Sure. Well, and that's actually a good point because the record you released in 2012, Ugly Noise, you went through Pledge Music,
Yes.
the crowdfunding platform.
Yes.
And because of that, you actually own now your masters, I would assume.
Yes, we own the rights, we own the masters, we own everything. Our fans are actually the producers of the record. They're actually the record label, which is kind of nice. You know, they give us the money to go record, and as soon as it's finished, they get the product, and then the rest goes out to the public. You know, so it's kind of a neat deal.
And how did you know about Pledge Music before starting with Ugly Noise, or how did you go about that? How did you decide to go crowdfunding, basically independent, right?
The record before Ugly Noise, we signed on a small label, actually owned by Head from Korn. Mm-hmm. He owned the label, and we signed with him, and we read the fine print of the contract afterwards, and it's standard contract every label puts out. But it pretty much says, you don't own this anymore. We own it now. We gave you the money to record it. Now we get to do whatever we want. And we just weren't happy with that. That's like the old days, you know. So we started looking into Pledge and Kickstarter, and you know, we decided that might be a neat way to go. Mm-hmm. There were some people on there that nobody's ever heard of that were making huge dollars to record their records, you know. And we're like, well, a few people have heard of us. Maybe we can at least make enough to record a record.
Sure.
So it worked out really well, really well.
Nice. Do you remember what the amount of money was?
I think we asked for, our goal was like $15,000. We didn't want to make a bunch of money. We just wanted to cover the expenses. Mm-hmm. And we put things on there like, you know, for €10 you could get the download. For 15 you get the download and the actual disc. For 20 you get the download, the disc, and a t-shirt, you know. It would add more things. We had a signed guitar on there for $1,000 you could get. And
nice.
Everything we put on there sold almost immediately. And we made our goal really quickly and stopped right there and finished recording. So. And
then I read that actually Mike Gilbert, your guitar player, you recorded in his house, right?
Yes. And then we had Ralph Patlin do the mixing and the mastering.
How is that different, you know, to record in your band's or your bandmate's house, other than, I don't know, back in the days, maybe going to Los Angeles, big studios, spending 3 weeks there?
With today's technology, it's really very easy. And, you know, Mike's house is very comfortable. We don't have to worry about, you know, where we're putting our feet or, you know, any of that stuff. It's Mike's house, so. But it turned out to be very comfortable, very easy to record.
So you would do that again?
Yeah, I think so. Matter of fact, we're working on a new record now.
Nice.
And most of it's been done, actually some at Mike's house, some at Steve's house, some at my house, some at, so it's actually coming along very nicely.
And the new record, did you also go through Pledge Music?
Not yet.
Okay.
We might go through Pledge just to do the marketing and the actual disc itself. But recording-wise, we used a lot of the Pledge money from before to buy equipment so we could do the next record the way we're doing it now.
Very good, very good. I remember that you had music videos during the Pledge during the production process, and I was wondering who made the videos? Did the band make it, or did you hire an external agency? Or
no, we used little GoPro cameras and just followed each other around. And, yeah, it was fun.
It was fun. And you edited everything yourself? So,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Homemade, and fans loved it.
Oh yeah.
That's it's really good.
It's
really
fun.
Good. What about social media? Do you have do you use it? Facebook, Twitter, and so on to communicate with your fans, or in general?
Yeah, not as much as we should, but when we're on tour, it's a little difficult. There's not always Wi-Fi everywhere. There's not, so a lot of times we're stuck in the middle of nowhere on the bus, just going, what do we do now? So when we get to some place like a good venue like this where we can sit backstage and talk to our fans, and we spend most of our time doing that.
So you talk directly to your fans?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Not through a PR agent?
No, usually I think I have 23,000 friends on Facebook, and so I'm constantly, answering messages and talking to people all the time.
So if I send you a message, it's going to be you replying to me?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody sees my messages but me. So.
Oh, okay. Well, because many or there is this image of musicians having PR agencies and so on, but
yeah, that's cheating.
That's cheating. Well, very well said. I just read an article, actually an interview with Billy Corgan, the Smashing Pumpkins lead singer and guitar player, where he was mentioning that in the future bands will they have to think more about branding in general, because I assume most people know by now that selling records went a bit down, and that's why many musicians they tour to make money.
Yes.
And he thinks that there should be other venues or avenues to make revenue. Did you ever think of something other than touring or selling records, to other than crowdfunding, of course?
We were toying with the idea of we have a rather large rehearsal room that we rent in Arizona, and we were toying with the idea of making a really nice looking stage, and maybe once a month do a big show on the stage and webcast it. And you just charge everybody, a couple dollars or whatever to watch the webcast. And we just do one show a month and stay home and let people watch it that way. So we were kind of toying with that, but we love seeing the world so much that, touring is really what we love to do.
Because you really get to see your fans. And
yeah, I like the smaller venues where you're standing right there in front of somebody, and there's nothing like it.
Oh, fabulous. And what's next, by the way? Yeah, for Flotsam and Jetsam.
We go home in a couple weeks, and I finished the vocals for the new record, which we don't have a title for yet. The new record has songs that sound like they came from the 80s, some songs that sound like they came from the middle of our career, and some songs that sound like they're brand new, and they're all on one record together. So it's kind of difficult to come up with a concept or a name for it. So we're not quite sure what we're going to do there yet, but the music is basically done. I just need to go home, finish vocals, and then we'll come back to Europe for another 4 or 5 weeks, and hopefully have the album out before the end of the year.
Great, great. Well, and we'll make sure to look out on Pledge Music or to follow you on Facebook.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, thank you very, very much. All the best.
Thank you.
Thanks.